Bill 156, Draft 2, authorizes the issuance of general obligation bonds of the County of Hawaii for the purpose of funding all or a portion of the costs of various public improvement projects, fixes the form, denominations, and certain other details of such bonds, and providing for their sale to the public, and authorizes the taking of other actions relating to the issuance and sale of the bonds. An aggregate principal amount of bond issuance not to exceed $61,494,010 to fund all or a portion of the cost of the 26 public improvement projects set forth in Exhibit A of the bill. Reference Communication 532.3, introduced by Ms. Poindexter. First reading, December 18, 2013.
Ms. Poindexter.
Motion to approve Bill 156, Draft 2.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Iligan. Mr. Iligan, you wanted the floor? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will move to amend Bill 156, Draft 2 with Communication 532.6.
Okay, Mr. Iligan, is that, that's not on my board. Is that add-on folder?
It's actually
I don't have
the
that.
original communication, and
It's from the last meeting.
yes,
Okay. Oh, no, Karen has, okay.
it's
I don't have it either. I have
the same content as the
I have 532.20.
That's the correct one? Is that what he just?
No, but I'm amending it with 532.6.
Why don't we-
Mr.
okay.
Iligan, it might make sense to...
Let's take a recess and we'll get that. Okay, so the motion to amend, well, let's hold off on the motion to amend because we got to get the correct document. So let's take a quick recess, maybe 5 minutes to get that. Recess. Okay, we're going to call the meeting back to order. We were, Mr. Iligan had the floor and he was in the process of making a motion to amend. Go ahead, Mr. Iligan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I apologize for the mishap. I'm gonna refocus us to the heart of the matter, which is I move to amend Bill 156, Draft 2 with Communications 532.6.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Onishi. Go ahead, Mr. Iligan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We discussed. I just want to say this amendment consists of two things. One is the safe swim area at Puhiki, and we all understand the danger that's occurring currently in Puhiki, and that's dealing with the boat ramp. That we have swimmers and boaters going into the water at the same time. And what this feasibility study will be is to get it started. We all know that projects takes a long time, and at least at this year we can get this project and we can get it started, get it shovel ready, and not delay any further. And the safe swim area for Puhiki is mainly working a partnership with the state and the county working together to find a way to construct a safe swim area for that area. And if you have any other questions, please ask me. And the second part of it is a community park in Hawaiian Paradise Park. And I got into detail with the concerns for the park in the Finance Committee. And that's still fresh in everybody's mind. So and you heard the testifiers, the main concern is that
District area were part of this planning process also?
So let me explain the difference between the Pahoa Park and...
No, you can do that when you speak. Just answer my question. Were the people in your district also planning for this?
People in my districts have been involved in the Pahoa Park.
Okay, that's what I want to know. So thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Poindexter. Mr. Kern, you have your light on? You wanted to talk to the amendment? Speak on the amendment?
yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm gonna, when Ms. Ford brought up her original amendment, and it was for a little over $400,000, I said I was not going to support any additional amendments. Fiscal responsibility, I think these things should have really been handled while the bond was being put together and the lobbying being done for that. I believe and know that Paradise Park needs a park. There's no question. To me, the regional park of Pahoa and Paradise Park are apples and oranges. Regional park is going to serve the entire community. Paradise Park is, it's huge. It's a completely different beast, and it does, like I say, it could use a school in Paradise Park. They could definitely use a park. In this bond, I don't think it's the right time, and I have to stick. If I wasn't going to do it for Ms. Ford in a district that severely that needed that too, I can't do it. I have to stick true to where I've been at. But I will support finding the money for this and getting it done because it is necessary. I really will. It's just the timing is poor. Our debt to income ratio is getting pushed, and it's going to continue to get pushed. It's not huge money, but it will continue to get pushed, and I got to stay firm with what my original, where I went. I can't waver on this, and I sincerely apologize. It's nothing personal, and I will work to help with this.
Okay, Mr. Iligan.
Right off the bat, I just want to say I'm not going to take anything personal. I want to do the best I can for my district, and I feel like what you were talking about regarding the divide in District 4 and 5, the majority, we all know that we cover 20,000 people, and the majority of my district is in Hawaiian Paradise Park. That's 12,000. The next subdivision that even is close to Hawaiian Paradise Park is Hawaiian Beaches, and that's roughly around 4,000. And the fact that I'm not asking for the world on this one, I'm asking for a small park that we want to just make sure that we can at least work with for the next 2 years to make it shovel ready. I'm not asking for $1 million, and I'm not even asking for a 0.1%. I'm asking for a 0.005% from the bond. Out of $61 million, I'm asking for $340,000. And this is to get things shovel ready, so we can look for how to be able to construct it. I'm looking to work on this for the future so we can get it ready for whoever the next council member may be. I just want to represent the 12,000 people that is in my district and give HPP that chance. And regarding the Pohiki safe swim area, I did have a meeting with Representative Faye Hanohano. She brought in DLNR, and we had that meeting, and Lapo Ihoi did come up, and they had the same problem. So we were trying to figure out how we could fix this. I even went to private landowners to try to see if we can deal with that. So in other words, what you're funding for the 40,000 is really trying to get all the players together. I'm already doing that in my time, but it's a way to say we're involved, we want to get this moving, not necessarily use county funds to construct this project, but just say that we're in this partnership and we want to have this feasibility study stating that we can do it. And that's what the Pohiki Safe Swim Area feasibility study is for. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Iligan. Ms. Poindexter?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a suggestion, because if this doesn't go through, because I'm not supporting it to be on the bond, but I have a resolution coming through too, similar, to help to encourage the state so that my representative can put that on, on his request to get funding to match county funding. So, but I'm not doing it through the bond. I'm just doing it to see if we can get matching funds and then put it on the capital improvement. And once we get the matching funds, then we can start using it that way. So there is, the possibilities are there. We just gotta build the partnerships to really make it happen, and it can happen. Because I have several of that going on. One includes the behind of the school, elementary school, getting our county road fixed there. I didn't go in for the bond, and it's an emergency situation because my granddaughter was the one who got run over in the school area and was sent to Honolulu. I was working on that project already, but I didn't amend the bond to put it on here because I'm working with the state to build a partnership so that can be worked out, the funding with the state. So I'm working it that way and not to touch the bond list right now at this point. So all I'm saying is there is a way to do it if it's not going on here. So I just wanted to share that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Poindexter. Mr. Onishi.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I'm hearing about, working with the state legislature and this and that. If your state legislature, like your House rep or your senator, didn't have their lists or their proposals for this coming session already, it's not going to be heard. So you ain't going to get no funding until the next session, okay? So that's what they need to, I'm hearing a lot, so I'm hoping that your representative or your senator has put that in their CIP already. So when come this session, they're gonna hear it and then they'll try and approve it. But then you also gotta understand that they have multiple projects, okay? So usually like on the state house side, they ask each house rep for their top 3 priorities. Okay, and then from there, so if they have 10, they gotta select 3 of them. Okay, and then from there, you're talking about like 153 CIP projects because you get 51 members. Out of the 151 projects, not all of them get funded too. So that's where, like when you go to the legislature, you need to lobby not only your representatives, but the representatives in Oahu, Maui, and so forth, so that when they go to the finance committees, that they'll be able to push that projects. But like I'm saying, but first it needs to start at home. And if they don't have it on their list coming this session, there's no funds for it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Onishi. Ms. Sioff, you haven't spoken. Go ahead.
Thank you. I think we all agree about the importance of parks and especially in Hawaiian Paradise Park where there is not a park. And yesterday in Finance Committee, I believe we wholeheartedly, unanimously supported that item on the agenda, which I think from our last discussion in the previous council meeting, we learned that the proper process for amending the CIP budget first, prior to getting a project added to the bond, was the protocol to follow. And I don't know if Ms. Sako wants to explain that again, but that's the reason why I think most of us have decided not to touch this bond at this time, to just add projects. We wanted them to go through the proper process, which you did do yesterday, and I think your constituents would thank you for that. So if Ms. Sako wanted to add anything or explain that process again, might be helpful.
Good morning, Deanna Sako, Deputy Director of Finance. I think the discussion historically has been that, we look at as many projects as we can when we're trying to figure out what's on the bond, but it's really the projects that we've been working on, planning, are pretty much ready to go, that we need the funding for now, keeping in mind each department's workload as well. And as several people read out, there's a lot of parks projects there already. I don't think anyone is disagreeing that's an important project, but now that it's on the CIP, or will be as it moves through the system, I think it'll be more on our radar as well, to help make a higher priority. And, there's contingency funds, there's other funding sources too for some of the smaller projects that might be able to help them get funded.
I yield.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sioff. Ms. Poindexter, did you want to respond to something earlier? I saw you're like going after Ms. Sioff. You good? Okay. Mr. Lagan.
First of all, when did the process trump over the needs of the people? We just had a process thing where we had to put on the agenda an amendment. we made sure that I'm just gonna describe Hawaiian Paradise Park because most people that are there, when, let's say, we use the park to exercise, and when I was talking to one of the constituents, they were trying to figure out where they should run. So they actually got out of their house and started running the streets. And the next thing they know, a dog confronted them. They were there and they didn't know what exactly to do, so they turned around. And the dog kept chasing them. And he finally lost the dog in the bushes. And ever since that, he decided, where can he even run safely? And what this is just like Machedo Park, where it was constructed in less than under, I want to say, 700,000, and that needed to get shovel ready. And Diana, you mentioned about the fact that most of these projects are shovel ready. You're talking about the Poha Park that wasn't even shovel ready, that was given the $5.5 million. So we're making up a lot of things to say, and I'm just saying this is very, very important to me as a council member. And I know this is very, very important for the people of my district. And just for the families to be able to push their strollers where it's not a dirty dirt road and into a park where they could just have access to. That's really what I'm asking for. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lagon. Any other comments on the amendment? If not, I'm going to close discussion on the amendment. At this time, I'm going to make just my brief comment, and then we're going to go to the vote. So any other comments? Not? Okay. Okay, council members, just to do a brief rewind, before we amended the bond, one of the concerns that I had was that we shouldn't amend it at all, because I said that, if we did one, we need to do for all, because the list was already, quite lengthy, and, understanding the process that the administration goes through in establishing their priorities and looking at the island in a big picture. And so pretty much I was just concerned that if we do one, as I said before, we should do for all 9 districts, and that's why I voted no on the previous amendment. So, in keeping to my word, I'm going to support this amendment because I just think that we opened the door, and that, this amendment would be adding a very worthwhile project. I think HPP, definitely needs a park. I mean, I go out there all the time. I used to live in Puna. I can completely relate to the need for services. And what really this does is it adds $520,000. And, Mr. Lagon is correct. It's a small percentage in terms of the big picture. I understand the administration's concerns about adding, and, I agree with them too as well. I mean, that's why I voted no on the initial efforts. So I need to stay consistent with what I said in terms of the logic and rationale and the positions that I took. So, I'm going to be supporting this project and this amendment. Okay, Mr. Clerk, we should do a roll call vote on this.
Ms. Eoff,
No.
Mr. Lagon,
Aye.
Mr. Kanuha,
No.
Mr. Kern,
Honolulu, no.
Mr. Onishi,
Aye.
Ms. Poindexter,
No?
Chair Shimono.
Aye.
Chair Shimono, you have 3 ayes
Okay.
and 4 noes.
4 noes. Okay, so the amendment fails. We're back to the main motion. Mr. Nishi, did you have something?
Yes, Mr. Chair, right, at this time, I would like to make a motion to amend Bill number 156, draft 2, with the communication number 532.21.
Okay, there's a motion to amend. We need a second to have that heard. If not, that motion will fail. Second, okay. Mr. Nishi, I'm sorry, but what was the point number on that?
It's 532.21.
Does everyone have that? Oh, Okay, everyone has it except me, okay.
I have a copy for you.
No, I'm good. I have Karen's one. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Onishi, you have the floor.
Okay, so this is going to be adding $60,000 to the existing $40,000 for the Kaipalaoa Landing New Park development. Okay, so it's already $40,000 in the bond. So this would be adding another $60,000 to make it $100,000, so that way they can get more things done at the park. Okay, and this is already shovel ready. This money is going to go for construction, because for the planning, design, survey, David Imata guys had donated their services to do this already. And then also the Coast Guard, what they did is, and if everybody knows where this location is, this is just by the Singing Bridge, the Iron Bridge, as you come into Hilo, right at Bayfront area. There's that lighthouse. What was happening, because of all the waves and everything with the currents, the underground of the lighthouse was getting deteriorated. Okay, so what the Coast Guard did was they went and they fixed all that for that area. So with this money is going to be used to fix the other sides, the front of the beach park, and also on the sides where they're going to add more, rocks to keep the erosion away. Okay, so like I'm saying, so this is kind of like a different from what we just heard earlier, where this it's not really adding a project to the list. It's an existing project that's on the list, but we're just going to give them a little bit more money. Because with the $100,000, the total cost to do the whole park is $300,000. Okay, and if they have only $40,000, it's only going to be a minute kind of a patch up that they're going to do. But with the $100,000, that's going to really help them to do a lot. And then they are going to be going out to get more grants and to get private funding for this project. But this is the start. And like I said, this is on the list already. Okay, and so I'm just adding $60,000 to the 40 to make it $100,000. And just another note to let you folks know, I just found out about a couple days ago that planning had set aside $40,000 of the fair share. So what I understand, Parks and Rec needs to go and apply for that fair share of the $40,000. So if they have that and they have the $100,000, they're like halfway done of their project. They'll have like at least $140,000 to do a $300,000 job. And that way they can go and get private donations, or like I said, get grants, or even get volunteers to come in and do the work. Okay, so I'm asking for your support, and if you folks have any questions, I'm open. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Onishi. We're on the amendment. Any other discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, I'm going to close discussion on the amendment, and I'm going to make a... Oh, go ahead, Mr. Onishi.
And also, I just want to make a note to the council members, this is not even in my district. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Onishi. I'm going to make a... did you have a comment? Ms. Ioff.
I just wanted to comment that I very much support these projects. I'm actually trying to stay consistent as well with what I learned from the last meeting as far as the process of what it does to just add money or to add projects to the bond at this point. So I'm going to not support this. However, I truly hope that there is other money, and that as time goes by, Mr. Onishi can help to make sure the project gets completed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ioff. Mr. Iligan.
To stay consistent, I would have to say that this is adding 20,000 more? 60,000. But originally there was 40,000. So you're adding actually
60,000.
60 to 100. Okay. Well, to stay consistent, I think the last amendment to the bond, because now this is draft 2, Brenda, Councilmember Ford, got hers moved through, and as I recall, there was only 3 opposition to that, and I was one of the opposition to the draft because I didn't at that time, I wanted to just leave the bond alone. And because an amendment went through that was 400,000, and this is currently a project that we are currently working on just to make sure that the proper funds could be allocated to make sure that project is successful. I think 60,000 should be okay. And I just want to say, support this project. I know I'm not that convincing, but this one, I think it's a no-brainer.
Okay, any further discussion? Mr. Onishi?
Yes, just to make a comment what Ms. Eoff had mentioned, there was a process done. Like I said, this project is on the bond already for 40,000. Okay, so I'm just making it to 100,000. So it has a CIP. Like I said, this is for construction, which they can go. So if it's approved and they float that 40,000, they can do construction already. Okay, so this is on the list already. I'm not adding it on. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Eoff, did you want
Thank
to?
you for explaining that. I guess I'd like to ask Ms. Sacco what that does to the debt ratio and the percentage, and if she has concerns or comments.
I think the 60,000 shouldn't have a significant impact on our debt ratio, but I didn't specifically calculate what 60,000 would do, but probably 0.01% or something.
I understand what you said. Thank you for clarifying.
Okay, Mr. Kern.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I totally hear what Mr. Onishi's saying about this project is ready. For me, it just goes back down to the original vote when Ms. Ford brought her stuff up, and it's about being consistent. If I'm not going to vote for one, I'm not going to vote for any of the other. I don't want to get into that. Otherwise, I would just vote the other way. So, again, no offense, nothing personal. It's just being consistent with not changing that. Just as Mr. Logan said at the beginning, when I'm not going to change it. I'm just holding firm to that. But every project is really important. So I yield.
Okay, Mr. Lagan.
Ms. Sacco, is 340,000 in any significance?
Yeah, I have to go back and calculate. Last time when I calculated, it was with all the various amendments.
Point of order. Point of order. We're past that. We're talking about $60,000.
Ms. Sacco, what's a significant number that actually does affect the bond?
All I'm saying is that it would increase it 0.01%. Okay, approximately. I'm trying to flip from my sheet here at the moment. When we first submitted it, we were going to be at 13.37, and there were more amendments previously. I'm just saying I don't have that figure right in front of me at the moment.
You've worked with several bond amendments.
Well, the whole thing is we're trying to stay under the 15%, and that's calculated when 15% of debt service not being more than 15% of our total expenditures to comply with GFOA and everything else. When we calculate this 13.37, that's of budget. Our actual expenditures are usually less than that. So we're trying to keep all of that in mind.
Well, Ms. Sacco, what will actually go over 15%? What is that amount? That you're trying to make sure you don't go through a threshold. What is that
I don't have that figure with me. What would put us over the 15?
You don't have that number?
I did not bring that number, no.
Okay. Mr. Kanuha.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I recall from last time, the administration wasn't in favor of any more additional amendments to the bond. Yes?
No, that's correct. I mean, we went through the planning process, and, I didn't mention it earlier, but, we continue to go through a continual planning process. There will be future bond amendments, amendments to current ordinances. There will be, future bond authorizations, I'm sure, as well.
Thank you. The reason I voted previously for Ms. Ford's, I don't know if we can bring it up now, is that's the appropriate time, maybe not, but I stated last time that I will not support any additional amendments to this bond. There's a reason why I voted the way I voted for the previous one, but in these ones, I just wanted to be consistent with what I said the last time and with the administration's reasoning behind why they did not want to support any additional amendments as well to the bond. So I'm going to stay with what I said previously, and I'll yield.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Canoa. Ms. Poindexter?
Yeah, I have a question, Diana. On emergency situations, if there was a disaster, like it took out the bridge or whatever, is that where you can go in and do an emergency and get some bond issued for an emergency situation as well?
Obviously we try to tap all our other funding sources first, such as FEMA, depending on what the emergency was.
Point of order. Point of order. We're talking about the amendment right now.
What?
My amendment.
Okay, well, he was able to ask about a bond and how it
That is
affects
related to
it.
the
So
bond.
I was,
Well, I'm
I
calling
was
for the point of
relating
order.
it. Yeah, okay, but I was relating it to the bond too. So you should have called the point of
Okay,
order.
hold on. One person at a
Also
time.
to council member, I have the floor.
Yeah.
So you should have called the point of order at council member Elegant first.
Hold on.
Thank you.
Focus. Okay. So, Ms. Poindexter, you're done?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Onishi,
No,
you're good? Mr. Ilagan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Ako, this is adding 60,000 more to the bond.
Yes.
Now, you said that this adds 0.001%, you said?
I say it'd probably add 0.01%, but, like I said, I can't seem to find my worksheet, so I'm guessing at that.
0.01%. Now, how would you come up with that number? What's the formula to get 0.01%? Like, how would you find that out?
Taking the estimated debt service on the 60,000
So
divided by our
service. So how? Say that one more time.
estimated debt service on 60,000, the annual payments,
Annual
divided by our projected expenditures. And there's a whole formula we go through that we use the same formula we use to calculate our debt service percentage in our CAFR. And we take into account not only the bond or the debt that's been issued, but the other debt that's been authorized but unissued by the council.
That's how you get the 0.01%.
I'm saying that would be my guess, but yes.
Then, with that number, how would you find out? Because what you're trying to figure out is if it goes over the 15% that would actually affect the bond. So you would calculate that number. Now, how would you find out? What would be the formula to figure that if you were going over the 15%? What would you need?
So we have a list of our total budget and what our expected expenditures are, and you could take 15% of that, and our debt service cannot exceed that. All I'm saying is you have to take into account all the debt we've issued, the debt we expect to issue, at whatever approximate interest rate you think the market is at right now. This is not just, a simple calculation. We review it, we monitor it, we meet with experts to try and keep us fiscally in line. And, part of the whole approach here was to, gather information about any particular project. It's just, we've tried to follow this planning process, and there'll be other opportunities as well.
Definitely, it's not that simple. I'm just trying to understand it. It's my responsibility to try to understand it. If I don't, then what's the point of me being here? So I'm trying to understand that will this 60,000 affect our debt rating, and will it? And it sounds like it won't. It won't have that effect. So I just want to say, even though it won't have that effect, why can't we support this? But that's...
Okay. Ms. Poindexter.
Yeah, I just want to say that I appreciate what you said early, because not only do we have to keep in mind about the money stuff, but the human capacity to complete these projects. So there's a lot that comes into the equation when you put the bond list together. It's not just about money. It's also about the human capacity to complete these projects. So we got to take all of that into consideration. So I'm not supporting this amendment at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Lagan.
Well, the human capacity, this is actually already on the bond amendment. This is already in play. We're just making sure the project will happen and be constructed fully. So the human resources actually won't be affected at all. It will make it happen. So I just wanted to say we should be supporting these kind of legislation.
Okay. We're going to wrap it up. Mr. Onishi, this is your amendment. You want to have a final say? No, Missy? Okay, Ms. Yoff, did you want to say anything? No? Okay, so I'm going to close discussion on the amendment and I'm going to make a few comments. So Mr. Onishi indicated this was not in his district. I guess it used to be in your district, but now it's currently in District 2, my district, and that's actually the border with District 1, I think. Our border is somewhere along across, yes. So it's nearby, but regardless of what district it's in, I again am going to support this amendment, because for several reasons. One, it's already there. Two, it adds $60,000 to kind of basically ensure that whatever work that they have, will get completed. 40,000 was, perhaps a conservative amount. And in terms of the big picture, I already stated my reasons for that. So, Mr. Clerk, a roll call, please.
Ms. Yoff.
Aye.
Mr. Iligan.
Aye.
Mr. Kanuha.
No.
Mr. Kern.
No.
Mr. Onishi. Ms. Poindexter.
No?
Chair Shimono.
Aye.
Chair Shimono, you have 4 ayes
Okay.
and 3 noes.
Thank you. So, and 2 excused. So the motion to amend fails. We're back to the main motion. Any further discussion, amendments to be brought forward? Mr. Onishi.
Okay, we're talking about the main motion now.
Main motion, okay?
Yeah, listening to all the discussion, which was really great, and for the past couple meetings, we heard about being fiscally responsible, fiscally irresponsible, and I got kind of offended when it was mentioned that we're being fiscally irresponsible, because like I mentioned before in my comments, before I came in, that term before me, they floated over $100 million bond. In my first term, they floated a $56 million bond. My second term, which was last year, it wasn't initiated by the administration, but it was initiated by the council, and we floated a $35+ million bond. And now, my third term, we're floating a $61 million bond. So, by hearing council members saying, we're fiscally irresponsible, I had to think back like, hey, wait a minute, but we've been floating every term that I was in, we've been floating bonds, and even prior to that, we floated a bond, or they floated a bond. So I couldn't understand that part. And so I really had to think back to how we first all got into the council and what we had to do. And at that time, the economy was bad. People were, county employees was taking furloughs because we were budget strapped, right? And so we had to look at cutting back. But I had to also think like, okay, what else happened? Then it kind of came to my mind that I guess certain members of this council didn't take furloughs. And so to hear like fiscally responsible, I had to kind of step back and say, okay, do we really know or do we really understand what everything is all about? And so I just wanted to say that, yes, I understand the administration or what they want to do or where they want to go. And